The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Man,
We're back with, of course, former Senator Rory Respicio, and he's my in-studio guest tonight. We're talking 2018 gubernatorial election. Now, let me ask you this now, in the Republican or the Democrat point of view, and looking at the Republican Party, if you were Carl Gutierrez, would you want a run against? And if Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenori decides he's going to run, and whoever's running mate will be, if you were Carl Gutierrez, would you want to run against Ray Tenori?
I guess they don't have a choice because
if they haven't announced, and who would who would he choose? Who would he rather choose? I mean, is that again coming off I guess a popular?
Well, it's really a double-edged sword, right? And because Lieutenant Governor Tenori will have the power of the incumbent, and there's something to be said about the power of the incumbency, but with that benefit also comes the baggage.
You have to answer for the baggage as well.
So but I'm sure that Lieutenant Governor Tenori will figure out how to strike that balance, how to call in those resources when necessary, and how to shy away from any of the public controversy, and it's gonna be up to whoever's running against him to kind of bring those things out, to bring that record. But at the same time, they're gonna bring a record out. I'm sure Governor Calvo is gonna campaign hard for his partner of all of 8 years, and at the same time, Lieutenant Governor Tenori will be running for governor. I'm sure that Governor Calvo and all of his resources and all of his fighting power and wherewithal are gonna pound 8 years of success under Calvo Tenori administration.
So he'll be able to inherit basically an incumbency.
Yeah. So
and infrastructure.
My point is he's formidable.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the reality, right?
Sure.
I don't think history has shown that the lieutenant governor has never. I think only Governor Joe Adams, was the only one who went from lieutenant governor to governor.
Yeah, but not directly. He
took
a term, I think. Yeah, and they went back to the legislature. Yeah.
But for those who've tried to run directly from the lieutenant governor's seat,
I've never done so. Yeah, without again getting out for a while. And as you said, Joe Adams was the first one and only one to date to have done that. Now, when you're looking at the legislature and how. I mean, their start, okay? This is just a prelude, I guess. I don't know, prelude maybe? And, of course, the majority Democrats under, I guess, the leadership of Mike St. Nicholas.
See, now I want to pick up on that, and I hope Speaker B.J. Cruz and Majority Leader Tom Matta are watching. I'm sure they do.
They will. The
fact that you say under the leadership of Mike St. Nicholas.
Yeah. Well,
because he's taking down those 9 senators, including himself, down a garden path, making them believe that everything he's doing is right.
Well, and the reason, and Senator, the reason why I said under the leadership, okay? And remember who the speaker is.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't say under the leadership.
That's why I want to draw that out a little bit more.
Because who is prevailing more as a leader?
Yeah.
Or is coming more as leader? Now, I mean, a leader can take you to high mountains, and a leader can also take you down to a really rocky path. And that's what I'm sensing again is because Senator Mike St. Nicholas is a polarizing figure. Again, and if you're a neophyte going in there, it might be maybe Mike has got more of an infrastructure right now and a base, maybe a more solid base than maybe the neophytes do. So you may not be able to survive that as opposed to someone who's a little more rooted.
And there's no doubt that Mike did very well in this last election. He came in number 2, whereas Senator Tom Matta and Speaker Cruz came in 3rd tier, I believe. And so, I mean, that's...
Yeah, and I don't understand that, and that's why I said that under the leadership, because you normally say under the leadership of course, the speaker, who's the prevailing party there, right? But that is not being shown.
But there's also Senator Frank Guggen, who was a top vote getter, and he's also I don't understand why he's yielding a lot to Mike Nicholas. I know he made a play for the Committee on Rules, and that's not how that panned out, but they seem to just be letting Mike do what Mike wants to do, and maybe when the public starts to see that because Mike has never really had any true leadership position other than what he holds now.
Well,
so if you're not responsible for anything and you complain about everything, you cannot be blamed for anything.
But here's the thing. Like, I mean, you're talking of course Senator Frank Huggan, who say, I mean, we don't understand why they're succumbing to just letting him run amok, basically. You know, if that's the case, if you're going to run for ad lib, you say this is what happened. Yeah, it might not have been under your leadership, but you were there and you were more seasoned and you were running for governor. Why didn't you? If you couldn't get a hold of that, a grip of that, and straighten that out, what makes you think that you're going to do even better running a government when you only had one person to deal with?
Or there could be the possibility that Mike Nicholas might want to run for governor himself. If you recall in the 2010 election, he asked Governor Gutierrez for lunch, and this all came out in the media. And he told Governor Gutierrez that he had a message from God, and that God wants him to run for governor, and he wants Carl Gutierrez to be his running mate.
His lieutenant.
And so Governor Gutierrez's response to that was, well,
God spoke to me too.
Why don't I run for governor and you run for lieutenant governor? And see, I don't know why people forget things like that, because if you have a young man who is not going to recognize the seniority and presence of a former two-term governor, individual who gave his entire life with First Lady Jerry Gutierrez to have the audacity to have a face-to-face with that person and say, would you run for lieutenant governor for me?
Because God told me.
And that was no different from how he ran himself as a senator, and he ran, he never respected Speaker Wampat. At every turn of, my role as majority leader and chairman on rules is to really protect also the institution, but the office of the speaker. And when Speaker Wampat makes a decision, we have to execute that and maybe refine it so that it's in the best interest of everybody. But you had this one individual who was never ever part of any team playing type ability. For years and years, tradition had it where the Democratic Party says you sign a pledge that we're going to, and the pledge was really that we're going to campaign respectfully, we're going to be honest about things, we're not going to attack our opponent. Well, after the election, I realized why Mike Nicholas refused to sign the pledge, because he didn't play by the rules. He said what he had to say to get elected and did certain things to others so that he can advance his own agenda. And that's what people have to see. And so I know that in 2018, Mike Nicholas, in his own mind, is going to believe that he's going to be a factor, and that whether he's going to be an official candidate or not, he's going to be that fly in the ointment where he's going to say, hey, look at me because I'm trying to do this and everybody else is screwing up.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a huge distraction, and people need to figure that out right now and take care of it once and for all.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, there's being loud and saying this is what I'm doing, as opposed to really actually doing something, and you're being really loud, and most especially when I say you're really loud about these salary rollbacks. But you're really loud, but you don't, I mean, have you worked with your colleagues to get the votes? Because that is louder than your voice.
And it's a lot of trickery, because in Mike Nicholas's first term, he was saying that, wow, he's so honored to work with colleagues in the Democrat side, where even though he's a freshman senator, they're giving him, we gave him a lot of respect, a lot of latitude, but I just wasn't going to have him take me down this road where he would say, use the tourist attraction fund to pay for tax refunds. And so when I was the lone voice who got up and said, you cannot use tourist attraction fund money to pay tax refunds, because that money is used to promote the island, to provide for safety and security of tourists when they come here, to improve on the destination, Guam as a product. he would stand up and say, well, I try to pay for tax refunds, but Rory Respicio won't allow
let
it.
me do it.
He says, take tax refunds and pay for GMH. So I said, you know, Mike, the people might want their tax refunds right away, but you're doing a huge disservice to the constituents and to the people of Guam. If there's going to be zero money to market Guam, and then you're not going to have tourists.
That's right.
So I think he's the kind of politician that lives for the moment and not think long term, and I just don't understand it.
You know, I remember once I reacted to a similar situation to that on the floor, the session floor, and I said, Madam Speaker, that's skullduggery. We'll be right back.